Hello, Mark Stott with HurricaneTrack.com here. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, September the 15th, 2018. I am in Greensboro, North Carolina, where we have power and full internet. The infrastructure in Wilmington is not very good. Certainly not at my house. Power is out, very limited internet access, and I really need to work to continue to update you on things, as well as develop a plan for the second part of the coverage after the landfall, documenting the inland flood, and this could be catastrophic. So let's get right to it. This is the latest from the National Hurricane Center over the next several days, the forecast and the current information. Look at the size of the wind field still. This is a very large tropical storm area, and I know that. We drove through that. Fella named Brent, who came up from the U.S. Virgin Islands helping out, volunteering his time to help out. I really appreciate it. Getting me to Greensboro safely, and we can both get some good sleep. Hopefully he's sleeping now as I'm recording this, actually. But that's a giant tropical storm force wind area, and that is representative of how much energy this has exerted over the ocean, which we saw the major storm surge event for the Carolinas, especially eastern North Carolina. Not so much, fortunately, in South Carolina from this particular event. And just imagine, had it come in as forecast a few days ago as a strong Category 3, yeah, I mean, it's like sometimes they get the intensity wrong because these things overachieve. At least in this situation, from the wind point of view, Florence underachieved, and yet it has still caused quite a bit of damage, as we're starting to see coming out from reports across eastern North Carolina especially. So the rainfall is the next big phase of this. It's ongoing now, and it will continue to do so. It's just an enormous footprint here of very heavy rain over North Carolina, parts of South Carolina, over the next several days. In some cases, 15 to 20 inches. And there's just an enormous area of 6 inches plus. And that extends up into the Appalachians here from Southwest Virginia, through the North Carolina mountains, the Piedmont, and then downstream from there. All of these rivers run towards the coast down here, and these basins, what are called these catchment basins, that feed these river systems, the Cape Fear River, the Neuse River, the Catawba River, etc., the Waccamaw River in South Carolina, the Great Petee River system, and there are many others. Those are filling up with all of this heavy rain, and then you're going to get this epic, and in some cases, truly catastrophic river flood, freshwater flooding. We saw it, unfortunately, just a couple of years ago with Matthew. We remember, hopefully, Floyd in 1999, and of course we remember, as well we should, the flood last year associated with Harvey in parts of the Houston area and elsewhere in Texas. It wasn't just a Houston event, but we certainly remember those images, right? Well, that's going to happen in parts of North Carolina, but North Carolina is different. South Carolina, too. It's not Texas. And so we have our own unique situations to deal with. The circulation, extremely impressive. Healthy, that's a better way to put it. Impressive makes it sound like it's a good thing, and in this case it is definitely not. Bands of moisture coming in off the Atlantic Ocean, feeding into Florence's circulation, creating enormous rainfall streaks, these bands of training rainfall, some tornadic thunderstorms associated with these that spin up very quickly, a lot to keep up with this enormous piece of energy that we call Tropical Storm Florence, now sitting over the Carolinas, ironically centered very close to none other than Florence, South Carolina. I have been through there so many times on my way to somewhere along the Gulf Coast or points farther west, it's not even funny. And this is definitely not funny. This is really dangerous. These streaks come in. We saw that in the Houston area as Harvey came up from the landfall in the Rockport area, Port Aransas area. Very similar structure, very, very heavy rainfall, very slow-moving system. What is the deal with that as of late? Not unprecedented, but man, it's unusual to see one after the other. You know, we saw Matthew with all of its very heavy rain up through here. We saw last year with Harvey, that's 16, 17, and then 18, 2018 here with the leftovers of Florence, creating quite the flood event. Now all of this, how can I help you? All right, let me show you something. I want to try to teach you a couple of things. This page, starting page here, weather.gov, weather.gov, is a great resource. You've got your outline of the watches and warnings, etc. And then you have this one tab or this one section of links right there. I'm going to highlight it. The rivers, lakes, and rainfall. I want you to tap on that, click on that, whatever the case may be, and check that out. This will populate with all of the USGS and related flood gauges on our rivers and streams and elsewhere across the lower 48. Hawaii, Alaska, right? Puerto Rico. Boy, watching it in Puerto Rico when Maria hit was just frightening. We're going to have something similar in eastern North Carolina and parts of South Carolina. So go to this, drop down, and in this case we're going to look at North Carolina right there. You wait just a moment, it'll populate with North Carolina, and you see all of the different gauges scattered across our region. 3 gauges are already in major flood. 2 gauges are moderate, 8 minor, so forth and so on. How do you use this map? This is extremely helpful in understanding what's coming up. Let me zoom in for you so we can pick out some areas of keen interest here in eastern North Carolina. All right, so let's start over here in the eastern part of the state. Kinston, along the Neuse River. Forecast to go 1 a.m. is where it is now at 12.41 feet, almost to record flood territory as early as 1 a.m. Monday or so. So about 48 hours from now. Kinston, again, as after was the case with Matthew, major flood. Over here in Johnston County, Neuse River at Smithfield, not quite the major flood, luckily, and you see the drop off there. It's all headed downstream, and that is very problematic. Let's click on this gauge, or at least mouse over it. Headed up, not too much to worry about with that one, it looks like, so that's good. What about this one here in Craven County? Swift Creek above Streets Ferry. All of these are very easy to just mouse over and see what's going on with them. If you want to see more information, and let's do this one here along the Cape Fear River, the Northeast Cape Fear River at Chinkapin. 23.5 feet is the record. This is going to be up at 26.3 feet. So let's just click on this. Whoop. Hold on, I'll get it. And it'll populate with details. All right? This gives you the graph, the hydrograph as it's called, a map of where the gauge is located along the Northeast Cape Fear River, some historic information over here. Floyd was the flood of record, 23.51 feet. This will exceed that according to the forecast, 26.3 feet, reaching that point when it looks like around 1 a.m. Wednesday. So several days after Florence made landfall. You have time, not much, because it's going to rise pretty quick, but this gives you an idea, all right? And these tell you over here, you know, at 13 feet, lowland flooding impacts, etc., etc. 20 feet, widespread flooding over much of the county. Much of the county. Wow, that's Pender County. That's a huge county. At 23 feet, devastating flooding across much of the county. Travel is nearly impossible, with numerous roads countywide impassable or washed out. Many homes across the county are inundated. This is forecast to be 3 feet higher than the worst flood seen at the Cape Fear River at Chinkapin. So please, weather.gov, click on the rivers, lakes, and rainfall. Mouse over any of these that you're interested in. Yadkin River, this is just examples here. Some of these go into major and then they drop pretty quickly, thank goodness. South Carolina, same kind of thing. PD River, going into major, not quite to the record, luckily. Waccama's got to be in here at some point. I remember that from the, Waccama River at Conway, and it just goes up and up and up. It's off the, days away. And this one's one where I might try to put a camera system to monitor that, because it's far enough out in time that I can do so. So let me just get to that point, and I want to wrap up. I'm trying to help you out here. Hopefully you're learning something here. You got to be ready for this flood. It's going to happen days from now in some cases, and in some cases a day from now. Very, very, very dangerous. I want you around to see these videos in the future. Generally, hurricanes thought of as not good for obvious reasons, but they are fascinating to track. There's no doubt about that. I want you to be educated, and I want you to be calm so that you can make good decisions to keep yourself safe and maybe save some of your property and mitigate some damage. I'm trying to educate myself as to where to set up the next phase of the live cameras and even these GoPro systems that we have that will record everything, not stream it live, but record it. We're trying to get new cameras and add to the arsenal. We're working on that. We'll talk about that another time as to how we can do that. But for now, I've got 2 more. 4 of them were out in the field. One of those washed into the Atlantic this morning in Surf City. Totally expected. Part of the way it goes. We can replace that equipment. But I've got 2 left. And I want to make sure we can monitor this flood event. I wish I had more. I've got 2. I have to put them up where we still have power. All right, so hopefully the power will get restored in some of these places, because with power, the cell towers are energized and the network is up, and I can stream on the 4G LTE network that we use from Verizon. Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, they're all having issues, but if there's no power, the cell sites dwindle and we have problems. I'm working on it. We'll figure out what we can do with what we've got left. So this is my update for the evening. Florence, definitely not over yet. A long way to go. Be patient. I know that's easy for me to say, but I'm part of it too. My family's evacuated to Greensboro. I had to come up here. No power, no internet access back at home that's reliable. It would take an hour and a half just to upload or download something. So here I am. I'm working, trying to keep you up to date on what's happening. I'm going to get some sleep. Tomorrow I'll get up and keep assessing the situation, and I'll post another video discussion and post it throughout the various methods that I have, from our app to the website to social media. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com from Greensboro, North Carolina. I'll have more for you later in the day on Saturday.